SpongeBob games are always a goofy time, but they can also be some of the best licensed games out there. The greatest example is easily Battle for Bikini Bottom. This old-ass 2003 game didn't get a remake for no reason, you know. That's right, I'm talking about the widely praised SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. This isn't the first time SpongeBob showed up on my channel anyway. I reviewed Nicktoons Unite a while back, which I did think was a fun experience. It was an extremely simple game for kids. This game, however, is a platformer for real men and women. If you aren't a bubble blower or never blowed bubbles before, then you never had a childhood. Extra points if you destroyed robots while doing it. Fun gameplay, good controls, multiple playable characters, and a bunch of collectibles. This game has it all. It's like Mario 64 but with SpongeBob, which makes it infinity times better than Mario.
Serious?
Mario has one movie for sure. But did you know that SpongeBob has 3? One of them is mid and the other one's bad, but let's not dwell on that. Still, my point stands. Let's review 2003's SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. This game is really a love letter to the early classic era of the show, with the same writing and art style the show would have, but in a video game format! The first exposure I've ever had to this game was when I was a little kid. Except back then, I played the GBA version, and it's pretty bad in hindsight. I mean, it uses a fucking password save system, but then again, most games that had, like, you know, handheld ports, they were kind of bad, the handheld ports anyway. I mean, look at Cars! Cars had a GBA version and it was terrible! This was the first time I ever played the console version, so you know, I mean, when I say, it is pretty good. I have no nostalgia for it, so shut your mouth, all you haters. Anyway, let's sit down and give it a go. The best place to start would of course be the story. This game starts at the Chum Bucket, with Plankton plotting a nefarious scheme to take over Bikini Bottom with a robot army, but he fails miserably, and the robots disobey him, running amok and causing havoc across Bikini Bottom all willy-nilly. So it's up to SpongeBob with the help of Patrick and Sandy to stop the robot army and save Bikini Bottom from Plankton's mistake. It's a simple plot that would fit right in with the show. SpongeBob of course doesn't figure out that Plankton is the one that made the robots until later in the game, but the main objective is that, well, you have to collect enough golden spatulas to unlock the Chum Bucket and stop the production of the robots. This truly is a battle for Bikini Bottom, alright. Especially when there's giant versions of the playable characters running around being all creepy.
Oh my goodness!
And they're robots! Did I say that enough already? We gotta stop them. Otherwise, how else are we gonna annoy Squidward? But yeah, that's the story of this game. There's not much else to say about it. You get assistance from people like Mr. Krabs, who isn't actually voiced by Mr. Krabs for some reason.
Get back to work, asshole!
Mrs. Puff, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, Larry the Lobster, and Bubble Buddy! Everyone is here to help us get those golden spatulas and save the day. But how exactly do we get those golden spatulas? By exploring the world at large! And this game's expertise is, of course, its gameplay. This game is a 3D collectathon platformer like many other games back in the early 2000s. This genre nowadays has very few and far between games that can be classified as such, like Mario Odyssey for an example. But back in 2003, these games were everywhere, and it was like a golden age. SpongeBob certainly added more to the greatness to the collection, running, jumping, and beating the shit out of robots that totally don't belong to Plankton. There's always something to do, and somewhere to go when there's 100 golden spatulas you can collect. There's 3 playable characters in the game, being SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy, naturally, as those 3 are the main characters of the show aside from Squidward. I don't know why he's not playable, but I guess it makes sense as to his character as he doesn't really care, you know? Each of them have their own abilities that can complete different tasks, such as SpongeBob being able to do a bubble uppercut maneuver and a ground pound, with some more unlockable moves as you progress through the game. Patrick is able to pick up shit and throw them, primarily watermelons because he likes to eat, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, let's just make him being fat, his character. Sandy is very overpowered in platforming sections because she can glide with her lasso for like 7 seconds. And also use it as a mid-ranged attack, but that's less practical. SpongeBob has the most tools because of course he is the main character. And the other 2, you have to go to the bus stops in the levels in order to switch to them. Only one person is allowed to have that main character privilege. SpongeBob can learn the Bubble Bowl move after defeating the robot Sandy boss. It's a nifty projectile attack with a lot of utility. Then the other move is easily the best one in the game, the Cruise Bubble. Outside of being able to use it to home in on targets, you can also build up insane speed with this shit. I don't know how to do it, but I watched the speedrunner do it and it was pretty cool. Going back to the bosses, there's 6 in the game, with 3 being the actual big boy bosses, those being the robot versions of the playable characters, Robot Sandy, Patrick, and SpongeBob, with SpongeBob being the final boss, and Patrick being surprisingly pretty creepy. I mean, his boss icon is fucking nightmare fuel, and like, he's in this green sludge, man. I don't like green. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I like fucking green, but you know what I mean. Everyone already knows this, but there's a robot Squidward. Or there was a robot Squidward in production. I'm kind of glad he's not in the game. It wouldn't have made sense considering the pattern of the other bosses, but maybe he was a playable character at one point. So it makes sense as to why they intended for there to be a robot Squidward boss. It's cool that in the GBA version, he is there, but again, that version sucks ass, and I'm not talking about it, and end of story. Aside from the golden spatulas that you can collect for story progression, you can also collect shiny objects from Mr. Krabs that are actually just straight up called shiny objects. Very creative, guys. They're basically the coins in this game. You can also use them to open up clams for secret spatulas and levels, so they're pretty nifty and they have multiple uses. Always get them. Another collectible is Patrick's socks. There's 80 socks in the game, and Patrick will give you a golden back scratcher for every 10 that you collect. I don't speak Italian.
What?
Other than that, yeah! This game is super fun to actually play and move around, so it gets a gold star in my book. Just the movement in general feels so fluid. I was in awe when I first actually was controlling the game. SpongeBob moves better than Mario in most cases. It's actually kind of crazy. Also, did I mention that you can turn into a ball and roll around at the speed of sound? The Worlds! That's right, what's a SpongeBob game without the iconic locations? This game is separated into 3 main areas of Bikini Bottom, with 3 levels each spanning the entirety of the area. The main levels consist of Jellyfish Fields, Goo Lagoon, Downtown Bikini Bottom, the Mermalair, Sand Mountain, Rock Bottom, Kelp Forest, Flying Dutchman's Graveyard, and SpongeBob's Dream. All with completely different objectives to get your precious spatulas. Some levels are more fun than others. I spent like 20 minutes on that fucking ball puzzle in the Mermalair. I did do it though, I didn't skip out on it like most of you other fuckers did. That was probably the dumbest bullshit I've ever fucking done in a video game. I don't normally talk while I'm doing these, but holy shit, man, I cannot help but just talking to the mic for a little bit and just be like, what the fuck was this ball puzzle, dude? Like, actually, bro, that took me like, what? Like half an hour! Less than that, but still. And honestly, I probably took longer on the Kelp Forest slide. That shit was hard. Oh my god, my heart is racing after that. Holy fucking shit, that was way harder than the ball puzzle probably, oh my god. The slide controls are not free enough to be making some of these fucking turns all willy-nilly. Oh yeah, I forgot. There is a slide feature in this game. Some of my personal favorite levels had to be Goo Lagoon, the Flying Dutchman's Graveyard, and Downtown Bikini Bottom. That's also where some of my favorite music is too. You wanna listen to some tunes? Too bad, you're gonna listen to them anyway, because I like them. There's a couple levels in the game that have unique bosses too, such as the King Jellyfish that's obviously in Jellyfish Fields. You also fight the Flying Dutchman after you learn that he tricks you. So yeah, you have to rough him up there. And then there's this new original character called Prawn that colored all of Mermaid Man's socks pink by putting the white one, putting the red one with all the white socks. So they all turned pink! And that made him mad, so we have to get our revenge on him. These bosses mostly serve as rewards for making it through specific long set pieces such as climbing Jellyfish Rock, navigating through the entirety of the Mermalair, and of course, traversing through all of Dutchman's Graveyard. One issue that this game certainly has with navigating is that you should be able to swap characters on the fly, at least once you've found a single bus stop. I think swapping on the fly is a little overpowered, so keeping the bus stop mechanic is appropriate, but like, let us do it after we found one at least, man. And only for that specific area too, so it doesn't undermine the entire idea. But that's just me. Some people like backtracking.
Damn, boy!
Some people also like to hurt themselves. But I'm not walking 5 miles every time I want to throw a watermelon at a button. Before I move along though, SpongeBob's Dream. You probably heard me say that when I was going through all of them and you were like, hey yo, wait, what? Yeah, SpongeBob's Dream is the epitome of true SpongeBob wackiness. I mean, you're jumping over cow shit as Sandy in the Sandy section and perform on Squidward's wrong notes on the Squidward section, which is, yeah, that's like the hardest platforming in the game. It took me a little while to get through that, I'm not going to lie. There's some really goofy stuff here, and I couldn't be more joyful over it. In Patrick's Dream, Patrick gives you the spatula because he's your best friend. But it's now time for the climax! We have all the spatulas we need, all 75 of them, so we're ready to walk up to his front door and beat it down. But how you get those 75 golden spatulas is completely up to you. It's just like Mario 64 in that regard, but once you have enough, you can kick down Plankton's door and learn that he actually was the one who created the robots. What? He wasn't the one controlling them though. That was Robot Plankton because of course he made a robot version of himself. The final boss is fighting Robot SpongeBob, while Robo Plankton is annoying and occasionally shoots stuff at you. It's a fairly challenging boss on your first playthrough that utilizes the Cruise Bubble ability to hit all of Sponge's weak points. Once you do that, you basically beat him, but there's a little extra final level that you have to do, which involves going inside of the machine to disable it completely. And it's a gauntlet of fighting a bunch of enemies and defeating robot generators over giant pits, and if you die, you have to restart at the beginning, so be careful. But once you do all that, we beat the game and destroy the robots terrorizing Bikini Bottom. The day is saved. And I love how the camera stays on SpongeBob for a very awkward long amount of time, and he's aware of it. He wants that camera to go away, but yeah. That is SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. A fun collectathon platformer that deserves the love it gets, honestly. I didn't think it would be all that great when I booted it up, but man, I was pleasantly surprised, and it really does encapsulate the golden era of SpongeBob that we all know and love. It's a genuine good game that has a lot of substance, and I think any SpongeBob fan would enjoy. So get collecting those golden spatulas because you don't want to be a Squidward. And no one wants to be a Squidward. Also, did Robo Plankton say that he was going to get married to Robo SpongeBob? Gay representation in an old video game? Wow!